Sometimes finding little messages in places are cute, like when they say have a great day, but others are just downright scary. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I'm your host Emily, and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 eerie messages discovered in bottles that will send shivers down your spine, so be prepared to be creeped out. Number 10. From the Dead. In 1995, a young troublemaker, Josh Baker, dumped a bottle of his mother's vanilla extract down the sink so he'd have something to put a handwritten note into. His note mentioned his name and his age and requested that its finder put this on the news. Josh then rode his bike over to Wisconsin's White Lake and threw the bottle into the water. Years later, Josh became a Marine and survived a tour of duty in Iraq. Tragically, he died in a car accident not long after his homecoming, leaving his loved ones devastated. Months later, Josh's friends fished something strange out of White Lake by chance, a vanilla extract bottle containing the message from 10-year-old Josh. Now, what are the chances of that? That really gives me chills. This message from beyond the grave came at just the right time to help Josh's family and friends move on. He reminds Josh's parents that their son is still with them, and I cannot imagine their reactions after they found out about this. Number 9. Hex in a bottle. While strolling along the beach of Oceanside, California, Reddit user Mariah KI13 stumbled across a message in a jar that creeped her right out. The jar was full of a strange pink liquid, which when drained revealed a folded piece of paper tied with a black ribbon. Unfolding the paper, Mariah realized it was actually a washed out photo of a woman in pink, and the photo had been pierced several times with pins. Now, being witchy myself, I can tell you that this was some sort of hex or spell. Whoever did this to the bottle really hates whoever was in that photograph or who it was intended for. Now, I fear since Mariah picked it up and touched what was in it, she might get hexed or cursed as well. So here's a lesson for all of you non-witches out there. If you see something that looks like it could be a part of a hex, spell, voodoo, just anything witchy and supernatural, do not touch it. I beg you. It's for your own good. And Mariah, if you're watching this, I take away all negative energy that bottle may have brought you. Number 8. Long distance friendship. Okay, this isn't as creepy as it is sweet, but hear me out. During a Hawaiian cruise in 1979, Dorothy and Josh Peckham put notes asking finders to write them into empty champagne bottles and threw them overboard. They even included money for postage. How kind. 4 years later, the couple received a letter from a former Vietnamese soldier, Hoa Van Nguyen, who said he found their message 15 kilometers from a shore in Thailand while escaping Vietnam's communist regime. This meant the bottle had traveled 9,000 miles. The Peckhams corresponded with Hoa for years, sharing milestones like births and weddings, and they even worked with immigration to get Hoa's family to America. It's great that they were able to create this bond, and what were the chances that Hoa found the bottle when he was in a time of need? The world truly works in mysterious ways. Number 7. Romance in a bottle. Again, more sweet than creepy, but the premise of this one is pretty weird, but hey, let's lean into it. If you've struggled to find a wife or girlfriend, look no further. A new method you have to try is message in a bottle. Aki Viking, a Swedish sailor who left his search for love up to fate, wrote a letter that simply said, "To someone beautiful and far away," then corked it in a bottle and tossed it overboard in the hopes that it would help him find a young woman to marry. 2 years later, Aki received a surprising reply from a Sicilian girl named Palonia. "I'm not beautiful," she wrote, "but it seems so miraculous that this little bottle traveled so far and long to reach me that I must send you an answer." Then the two became regular pen pals, and 3 years later, Aki moved to Sicily to marry her. So what I'm saying is, if you're that desperate, a message in a bottle may be the best way to find true love. Now, totally unrelated, but does anyone have an empty bottle that I could use? Number 6. Hiking trip. In Oakland, California, 69-year-old Larry Wright discovered a message in a rusted canister during a hiking trip to Sequoia National Park. The message had been written 40 years earlier by a teenager named Tim Taylor, who requested that anyone who found it respond. Now, it took Larry over a month to find Tim. He went through public records and visited Tim's former residence, but had little success until he reached out to a local paper called La Canada Valley Sun. The newspaper wrote about Larry's discovery, and the story eventually got back to Tim, who is now a Superior Court judge. Tim had left the message after abandoning his Boy Scout hiking troop to climb the 12,000-foot peak alone. He picked up the habit of leaving messages in bottles from his father, and I'm sure it was a shock to be tracked down from someone who found one of these messages. Number 5. Delayed message in a bottle. The current oldest message in a bottle was one of 1,020 bottles thrown into the sea between 1904 and 1906 years ago by a scientist at the Marine Biology Association in Plymouth. The message was discovered washed up on the beach in Germany by a retired postal worker, Marianne Winkler. The bottles were a part of a project to study deep sea currents and were designed to just float above the seabed. Nowadays, the association continues this research, but uses technology like electronic tags. Most of the bottles from this experiment were found within months, but this one took 108 years. It's crazy that it took that long to be found, but I think they should still use bottles for this because it's just a fun idea to me, and I also wonder what the message specifically said. Number 4. Prison message. In 2009, a letter written in 1944 by 7 Jewish prisoners were unearthed by a Polish construction crew. Workmen were renovating a cellar near a former German concentration camp site when they discovered the note rolled up and hidden in a bottle in a concrete wall. The note was written on a small paper scrap from the cement bag and contained the names, camp numbers, and hometowns of the prisoners, all of whom were aged between 18 and 20. The note was verified by historians who suggested the young prisoners simply wanted to leave some record of their existence behind. Now, this is incredibly sad to me, and the way that this information was laid out, I think it's safe to say that these men died in the prison camp, which is just horrible. This message is now a part of public exhibition as a reminder of what Jewish and other individuals went through during World War II. Number 3. Rescued from pirates. In 2011, a crew from a hijacked Italian cargo boat was saved by passing British commandos after sending their rescuers a message in a bottle. The crew, 7 Italians, 6 Ukrainians, and 10 Indians, had locked themselves inside an armored area of the vessel when the pirates boarded the ship, said Italian Defense Minister Ingazia La Rosa. Safe from the pirates' threats, the crew continued to navigate the ship. Now, the criminals managed to cut off all means of communication, but the prisoners tossed a bottle with a message through a porthole explaining the situation. Rubber boats with British Marine commandos on board circled the boat while a helicopter hovered above. The pirates surrendered right away, some throwing their weapons into the sea, and were arrested. 2 NATO ships arrived and Special Forces officers stormed the ship and freed them. The crew members were obviously shaken up, but were unharmed except from one cut hand. The pirates were arrested and the message in the bottle received a Medal of Valor. Now, this sounds something right out of a movie, which is so cool to me. I'm glad the message worked though, and everyone was found safe, and whoever thought of that idea on board is a genius and most likely saved everyone's life who was on board the boat. Number 2. Goodbye from the Titanic. RMS Titanic was a British passenger liner operated by the White Star Line, which sank in the North Atlantic Ocean on April 15, 1912, after striking an iceberg during her maiden voyage from Southampton, England to New York City, United States. Of the estimated 2,224 passengers and crew aboard, more than 1,500 people died, making it the deadliest sinking of a single ship at the time. Safe to say, it was a horrible event and scarred a lot of people. Now, with people on board saying their last goodbyes, a third-class Irish passenger named Jeremiah Burke was traveling to America when the ship went down. 13 months later, a man found a bottle on the beach just miles from the deceased Irishman's hometown. The bottle was recognized as a small bottle of holy water given to the young man by his mother prior to his departure. The note inside simply read, "From Titanic, goodbye all, Burke of Glanmire, Cork." He had used his own bootlace to tie the message, and it had miraculously traveled thousands of miles to reach the shores of his home. Now, that is just insane that it landed right there, but it was meant to be. It sounds like his mother got somewhat of a proper goodbye, and I'm sure that note made all the difference. And coming in at number 1 is A Soldier's Last Goodbye. In 1999, a fisherman in England found a bottle containing a letter to a World War I soldier's wife written as he was heading off to the front. The letter said, "Dear wife, I am writing this note on this boat and dropping it into the sea just to see if it will reach you. If it does, sign this envelope on the right-hand bottom corner where it says recipient. Put the date and hour of recipient and your name where it says signature and look after it well. Ta-ta, sweet sweet. For the present, your hubby. Also attached was a covering note intended for the finder of the bottle. Sir or madam, youth or maid, would you kindly forward the enclosed letter and earn the blessing of a poor British soldier on his way to the front this 9th day of September 1914. Signed, Private T. Hughes, 2nd Durham Light Infantry, 3rd Army Corps Expeditionary Force. Now, this is so sweet, but the soldier tragically died in battle 2 days after the letter was thrown to sea, and his wife was never able to receive it. His wife and 2-year-old daughter eventually made their way to New Zealand, and it wasn't until fisherman Steve Gowan caught the bottle in 1999 that the message resurfaced. Traveling to New Zealand, Steve managed to deliver the heartfelt message to the soldier's daughter, Emily Crowhurst. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 eerie messages discovered in bottles that will send shivers down your spine. Have you ever put a message in a bottle, or better yet, found a message in a bottle? I haven't, but I think I should because it sounds so cool. Let us know in the comments down below, and hey, why not like and subscribe while you're down there? I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.